I am so glad you decided to join me today on another episode of Nashville Dyslexia Center, The Interviews. My name is Erin Paskey, and I'm the owner and founder of a tutoring service for students with dyslexia called Nashville Dyslexia Center. This YouTube channel is for anyone who wants to learn more about dyslexia, find better ways to parent children with dyslexia, and it's for anyone who is feeling a little alone or overwhelmed on their journey. My goal is to put lots of information in your hands and help you build a tribe of experts so your child can thrive. Take a second or two and click subscribe so you don't miss out on any of it. Now, I love to read, and I read a lot of books. During a given week, I might finish one or two. I read so many books, and I read them probably too quickly. It's hard for me to remember them all. But every now and then, there's a book that touches my heart, and I can't forget it. Do you have books that do that for you? In today's episode of the interviews, I have the author of one such book, Magnificent Meg. The author's name is Andra Harris. Now, you're going to love this interview with Andra. She talks about her child's journey with dyslexia, and she also offers an encouraging message to parents. Check it out. Andra, I am thrilled to have you as a guest today and to share about your book. Now, we'll get to the book in just a moment, but first, I want to welcome you and ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, hello. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I taught in the classroom for 10 years. I taught 5th through 8th grade, and many of my students were struggling with reading. So I began taking classes with Susan Barton in 2002. I began, they used to say diagnosing dyslexia, but now it's more just helping to identify students who needed to learn in reading in a different way. So then I also began taking classes to tutor children with dyslexia, and I've done that for over 16 years. But all of my students were in 4th, 5th, 6th grade, about the age that I was teaching. And I began to really see an amazing amount of progress with their reading, with their grades, with their confidence. Within a couple years of tutoring, they began to enjoy school a lot more. And I've seen many of them go on to great success in high school, college, and in their careers.
All right, so you started out as a classroom teacher and then became a dyslexia tutor. And I have to say, I can relate to that. We have a similar story in that we were both classroom teachers and became dyslexia tutors. Now, your story doesn't end there, though, with dyslexia. Tell us how dyslexia has affected your family personally.
Yes. So my daughter, when she was in kindergarten, she really showed signs of struggling, forming her letters and sight words like was and saw, or no and on. Sometimes it was the small words that were the hardest because there were different words that looked so similar. In 1st grade, her struggles continued reversals, struggling with math facts, hard to read and spell sight words. So by the end of 1st grade, we had a lot of tears and a lot of frustration. She was really beginning to not like school. So we began a journey at the end of 1st grade. We started using the Barton system, and it's very helpful, but it was my first time using Barton with a young child. And even though I knew in my head that all of my former students who'd used Barton had gone on to great success, this was different because it was my daughter, and I could see her tears. And I didn't want her to fall behind. So there were a lot of emotions involved. I can really relate to any struggles that parents are having if they've just received a diagnosis or if they have a young child who's really showing signs of struggle.
You can still feel those feelings today, can't you?
Yes.
So, your daughter is diagnosed with dyslexia. You begin working with her using the Barton reading and spelling system, and you write a book. Tell us about what led you to write a book and what went into that.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, you know, kids with dyslexia need to learn a different way. So their peers might be reading chapter books. They may not know how to sound out big words, but they're really good at memorizing those big words. They're really good at memorizing so that they can read. And so my daughter began to feel like, well, how come it's so easy for her? And even with her own sister, why does she pick it up so fast? She's younger than me. And there were times where she said, Mom, is, is everything okay? So I just really wanted to encourage her that, you just need to learn reading a different way, but it doesn't mean there's something wrong. It doesn't mean that you can't be a huge success. And so I wanted a book that was very positive. I wanted it to communicate that she's not the only one. A lot of kids open up a book with a lot of words on the page and they all blend together. I wanted her to know that everybody has a struggle. Everybody does. For some, it's math. For some, it's temper, controlling temper. For some, it's coordination, with kicking or riding a bike. Everybody has a struggle, not just her. And the big message is that you're a super kid and you can do hard things. So Magnificent Meg is very encouraging, very positive. I hope it encourages my daughter, but also many other children as well.
Oh, I know it will. And I want to show the viewers what the book looks like here. It's called Magnificent Meg, a read aloud book to encourage children with dyslexia. And Andra, I mentioned in the introduction that I do read a lot and few books stick with me, but yours did. And here's why. I have been, as a dyslexia tutor, looking for books to help explain dyslexia to children. And there are a few of them out there, and some of them are pretty well known. But I wanted something that came away really focusing on the strengths of a child with dyslexia, and I wanted it in a respectful way. Some of the books that I was finding talk about dyslexia and a child's struggles in schools, and then they focus on the bullying that can sometimes accompany it. And I didn't want to recommend a book to families that might bring a child down. So when I found Magnificent Meg, and the first part of the book talks all about the strengths that Meg has, the things that she's really good at. And then it kind of gently gets into what happens when reading. What happens with those sight words? And Meg acknowledges that they're a little bit tough for her, but that's not who she is. She happens to struggle with these things, but she's more than that. And so I found Magnificent Meg to really touch my heart and encourage me. And I can imagine it would do that for children with dyslexia.
I sure hope so.
Well, Magnificent Meg, I found my copy on Amazon. Where can our viewers find Magnificent Meg?
Oh, sure. It's sold at Barnes& and Noble and Walmart.com. However, Amazon has the cheapest price. On Amazon, it's $12.99.
How did you come up with the title, Magnificent Meg?
Yes. Well, I wanted a name that would be easy for a child to read and say. So Meg is very simple. And then Magnificent, I just wanted the child to know that, it's Magnificent Meg is encouraging other children. So I wanted them to know that she's magnificent and I am too. So that's where the title came from.
So, what do you want parents of children with dyslexia to know and understand?
Sure. Well, one feeling that I felt a lot was, at times I felt overwhelmed and sometimes I felt alone. So, a big thing that I want parents to know is that you're not alone. Some of the biggest encouragement I felt is by talking to other parents, especially parents whose kids are a little bit older than mine, and they the number one thing that encouraged me was, we've been there and it's okay. If your child isn't reading these books by 3rd grade like the other children are, don't worry, it's going to be fine. So really finding another group of parents, some community, maybe a Facebook group, or even, things like this podcast can really, really boost you up as parents. And then another thing is, it's natural to worry, and it's natural sometimes to really work hard and then feel like, wait a minute, we've been working on these words for a month and they're still hard. So sometimes you can feel frustrated, like, why isn't the progress coming faster? But there came a point where I realized, I need to look at my own heart, and I need to accept that it's okay. I, I don't need to be too worried, but I also don't want to be frustrated, because then that will come out with my daughter, and I don't want her to think I'm frustrated with her. So a place of acceptance is really important for us as parents, to just know, you know what? We have something that's going to be difficult for a while. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some research. It's going to take some new teaching techniques. It's going to take some tutoring. But you know what? That's okay. We're going to get through this. My child is worth it. And it builds our character. Over and over, I have seen that students with dyslexia, when they get to high school, they know how to sound out hard words. The kids who are good at memorizing don't always know how to sound out hard words. And the kids with dyslexia, they know how to work hard. They have a resilience, they have a determination, and they also have compassion. They are much more likely to encourage other kids who are struggling. And not only that, but so many of them become entrepreneurs. They can think outside the box. Our world needs kids like this, kids with dyslexia who are creative and talented. So once I reached that point of acceptance inside of me, I think it really helped my daughter a lot too. I had a lot more joy, a lot more confidence, and that's what our children need. They need to see that in us. So that's another encouragement I would give to parents, is inside yourself, have peace that it's going to be okay. But other things like, I have been homeschooling my daughter for 5 years, but whether you're homeschooling or not, when you sit down to read with your child, something that really helps is, if it's a book with a lot of words on the page, use a piece of paper to cover up so you're only reading one line at a time. It makes the page look much less overwhelming for a child. Another thing that really helps is, if I notice right away that, okay, on the first line, there's a word that my daughter couldn't sound out. Oh, a second line, another one. I don't want her to reach the frustration point quickly. So I know, okay, that's a word that I've never taught her what EW says, or her tutor maybe has never taught her what EW says. So I'm just going to sound that word out for her. And that way we don't reach the frustration level so fast. If your child has a tutor, be in close communication with that tutor, so you know, okay, this is what she's learning this week, or this is what she's learned this month. And as you're reading with her at home, or him at home, you'll be able to identify, oh, that's a really long word. I'm just going to help her with that one, instead of let her spend 2 minutes trying to figure it out.
So what I'm hearing you say is children with dyslexia don't necessarily intuit the rules of our language. And so if you know your child hasn't studied a certain kind of word, it's okay to tell them what that word is, and they'll study it later as they get their tutor to teach them, or instruction in school.
Yes, that doesn't mean that you're enabling them. It doesn't mean you're making it too easy for them. The goal is to keep the love of learning alive, the love of story alive. And when they're practicing reading, they are learning, even if you are helping them with words. If it's a 6-syllable word, I might even, give her 5 minutes to just try the first little part, and then I'll just look at her and she'll look at me, and then I'll tell her what it is, because I want to keep the flow going. I want her to understand the story. And like I said earlier, she can be practicing the rules and the words that she's learned. Once she gets to the frustration level, though, she's going to shut down. And we want to help her not to reach that point.
So, Andra, it sounds like to me as a parent, you want to keep the long range in view. You want to think about your child as a whole child and not just this dyslexic, right? And so there are good things that come along with dyslexia that you mentioned, having an incredible work ethic, compassion, resiliency. Those are things that many children with dyslexia develop, but we need to give them space. We need to understand that this is a process, and that's what I tell the tutoring families that we work with is this is not a sprint. When we do tutoring, we're not just summer academic tutors to boost up a grade and be done. We are truly teaching how to read and how to spell, and it takes time. It takes a lot of practice and a lot of effort. And if parents can trust that process, they'll see the growth. But
Yes,
it takes time.
absolutely. Yes, and I've noticed sometimes that if we have a sickness or a vacation or 2 or 3 weeks off of school or longer, that a lot of times we'll forget. And so just know as a parent, it's not laziness. It's not he doesn't care. It's not he's not trying hard enough. Um, these children need the review. They need the constant support to help them.
I am so glad you brought those things up, and it is so true. Just a little bit frequently makes all the difference.
Yes.
So let's talk about your book again, Magnificent Meg. Who did you write it for?
I wrote it for my daughter to encourage her, but I'm hoping, 1 in 5 children have a struggle, with dyslexia, with reading. And so I wanted to encourage her, but I also hope that it will encourage many, many, many children. Don't give up.
Now, I noticed in the book, Andra, that you did not use the word dyslexia in the story part of the book. There is some information at the back. Tell us about your decision not to use that word. And then when do you recommend parents use that word dyslexia?
Sure. Well, I thought, there might be some kids that don't have a diagnosis. They're just struggling with reading. There might be some kids who have other learning struggles, not just with reading. I didn't want to limit it, but also, I also didn't want kids to feel labeled. I didn't want them to think that um, this is this identifies who I am. So that's why I left it out. But then afterward, I thought, well, how am I going to get this book into the right hands? I must have it on the cover so that when parents are looking for a book to help their child, they will know from the cover that this book is for their child. It will help them.
So, when do you recommend parents to use that word dyslexia with a child who is struggling?
Sure. So when Maddie was in second grade, and we knew, she had all the classic warning signs, then she felt like, what's wrong with me? And so I sat down and talked with her and I said, nothing's wrong with you, sweetie. There's something called dyslexia that just shows that your brain is really, really good in a lot of areas. And you just need to learn reading a different way. And once she knew it wasn't her fault, it wasn't anything she did wrong, she wasn't less than or less capable, then she was like, oh, I just need to learn a different way. And so instead of bringing down her confidence, it helped her to be confident that I can do this. And there are lots of things I'm good at. I just need to learn a different way.
Andrea, what advice would you leave for parents as we close out our interview here? What's your best word of wisdom or advice for parents?
Sure. Um, First, I want to say that you are the best encourager, cheerleader, and advocate for your child. A lot of times we think, oh, my child is struggling, but the teacher will help her with that, or the tutor will help her with that. Somebody else will help her. But your encouragement, your praise, even just snuggling up on the couch with a blanket and hot chocolate to do reading, that now reading isn't just reading, it's special time with mom or dad or with grandma and grandpa. You can help them overcome this hard thing that they're struggling with, and they need you. And even little things like asking for their help to rake, asking for their help to put the dishes away, asking for their help to do laundry. By showing them how to do it and giving them praise, you're boosting their confidence. You want to give them lots of opportunities for success. Help them discover their talents. It may not feel like you're helping them with reading, but by building that relationship, by helping them with their confidence, by giving them lots of praise, you are helping them with their reading. And I just want parents to know that your child, when they go to school or when they do schoolwork or when they compare themselves to other children, they might feel picked apart. They might feel like they can't do anything right. They might feel like they're not smart. And so when they come home to you, you are their safe place. And they need to know that you're their number one fan. And absolutely read with them, read aloud to them. That's a big thing to help keep their love of story alive. Reading every night at bedtime, reading anything together in the morning, discussing what they learned at school, reading a classic with a rich language. All of those things are helping them. And even with writing, obviously there will be many spelling errors. And what I've learned is if I just look at every single thing that's wrong, my daughter will just hang her head. So what I've learned, there's a podcast I listen to that I love. It's Andrew Pudewa, Institute for Excellence in Writing. And he said, think of yourself as a coach. So what does a coach do? He doesn't pick apart every single thing that a child does wrong on the soccer field or on the baseball field. He gives them a goal of something to work on. And he might make a couple of suggestions, but he doesn't pick apart every little thing. And I've tried to do that with my child as she's writing. Just say, oh, this is really good. I see that you've worked really hard on this. I'm really proud of you for your hard work. But let's just correct a couple words here. And maybe let's just maybe talk about this area a little bit more. So that way she feels successful. She's making progress. She has a couple things to work on, but she's still doing a great job. And I found that when I am her biggest fan and I'm praising her, not for perfection, that's not what we want for perfect work. We want to praise them for not giving up, for being resilient, hardworking, for doing their best, for helping others, for giving to others, for encouraging others. We're encouraging character and the whole child. And you know what, moms and dads and grandparents, the reading will come, the spelling will come, and you play a really, really big role in encouraging them not to give up.
That is excellent advice. And your encouragement and how you spoke just right now comes through in Magnificent Meg. Your voice of encouragement really shines through. So, Andra, how can our viewers get in contact with you or find you on the internet?
Oh, thank you. You can see my website at andraharris.com. Let's see, my Instagram is, the handle is Andra Lynn Harris. And then Magnificent Meg has her own Instagram page. It's Magnificent Meg's Friends. We're on Facebook as well. Magnificent Meg's Friends and Andra Lynn Harris.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us today, Andra.
Thank you so much. I look forward to listening to all of your podcasts, and I just think it's wonderful what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And viewers, be sure to subscribe to this channel, Nashville Dyslexia Center, so you don't miss out on any interviews coming your way.